The ad hoc drainage committee was formed by the board in response to a desire for better defined policies and priorities regarding maintenance, repairs, and alterations of the ranch's drainage system. The category of infrastructure includes driveway culverts, street-side ditches, channels and pipes, and ponds on the ranch. Members were selected based on experience in land development, soils and hydrology, and stormwater management. The committee met with Mr. Dupelchin on December 4th, 2017 for direction and desired goals. The committee interviewed the maintenance supervisor and past general manager to gather data on current conditions of roads and culverts, and it met with the members of the board during investigations to verify the work was in the prescribed direction. The main objective of the committee was to determine if there could be better management of stormwater runoff in streets, easements, and green spaces for which the association is accountable. There was also concern about runoff onto and through individual lots, which had been addressed several times before on a case-by-case basis. The committee was tasked to determine if there are similar situations and to establish a policy for such issues. The committee has prepared a report summarizing the basis of investigations, study methodology, observations, interviews, findings, analyses, and recommendations for action. This presentation is an extract of the report, which will be available online. The committee began to identify drainage issues in December 2017 and completed its survey of the ranch in mid-March. The observations were taken during good weather and bad. Obviously, rainy weather gave the best indication of problems, but this was not always possible, as when storms occurred at night. Observations by location are described and photographed in an exhibit to the report. Over 2,200 photographs were taken of more than 200 sites. The need for improvements was noted by the committee, but most can be accomplished without much cost, in our opinion. Further, no assessment will be needed, as the labor and costs can be incorporated into the current budget. The committee observed the following: water ponding in low-lying and poorly drained areas, sheet and concentrated flows from streets and golf course onto private lots, collapsed and clogged culverts blocking storm flow, undersized or missing culverts where needed, erosion from channeled water in ditches and swales, and sediment deposited onto streets and flowing into ponds. While the drainage system on Holly Lake Ranch functions on a basic level in general, it is maintained to avoid major hazards and ponding with a routine program of inspection and repair, though documentation is lacking. The maintenance staff addresses problems on an as-needed basis. But no resources are currently available to install alterations and improvements to the system. All locations investigated are identified on the following maps. Drainage easements are marked on the maps in green. Only a few locations need urgent attention, and we do not claim to have found all of the problems on the ranch. Here are a few comments about the effects of uncontrolled runoff. Localized ponding, such as low-lying backyards, do occur, but this is not necessarily due to uncontrolled storm runoff. Here are two examples of low-lying backyards that collect water. The committee was not able to ascertain solutions to these problems. Other properties were found to receive and collect water from common areas. 482 Greenbrier experienced storm runoff backing up from the lake on fairway number 14, and 192 Greenbrier received sheet flow from fairway number 16 during heavy storms over a long period of time. The homeowner has corrected this situation somewhat by digging a ditch around the property. Ponding in streets occurs at several locations and is generally considered at least a nuisance. High water immediately encountered by drivers on rainy days at the entrance to Section 6, Private Road 7922, does occur frequently. For this to be a first impression of visitors and prospective buyers is not desirable. Moreover, standing water has a potential to affect traffic safety. Even traveling at 25 miles per hour within Holly Lake Ranch, automobiles driving on water-covered roads can experience reduced handling and stopping capabilities. Uncontrolled stormwater flows have a detrimental erosive effect. Unsightly deep ditches have negative aesthetic impacts, and anything which detracts from the beauty of Holly Lake Ranch ultimately affects property values. Compare these roadside swales. Obviously, grassed swales have a much better appearance. Shallow ditches with wide sloping sides, called swales, stabilize soils by conveying storm runoff at a slower velocity, resulting in less erosion. Swales should have enough carrying capacity so they do not overflow into streets. Grassed swales are not applicable where there's inability to grow grass or if trees interfere with grading a wide enough swale in the road shoulder. Other stabilization methods are available like rocks, concrete, asphalt pavement, waffle blocks, which allow some vegetation to grow, geotextile fabric, and mats of vegetative and woven materials. Stabilization with native grasses is the preferred alternative. Another consideration is the impact at the edge of asphalt concrete pavement. This is susceptible to deterioration from flowing and standing water. It can result in potholes, alligator cracking, and edge raveling. Here is an example of alligator cracking. If swales and ditches are too close to the pavement edge, rainwater can infiltrate the subbase of the pavement, softening it and resulting in edge raveling. Maintaining adequate drainage patterns, reducing stormwater standing on streets, and reducing runoff running along edges as much as possible will reduce pavement maintenance costs in the long term. The third impact of uncontrolled runoff is sediment deposits, which are a function of ditch erosion. The eroded soil ends up in ponds and lakes around Holly Lake Ranch. It is unsightly when visible as sand on roads, fill in backyards, fill in ponds such as fairway number 12 and fairway number 3, and at the fill of edges of lakes. This dock used to be over open water. The board directors individually and as a group expressed their goal of minimizing impact of storm runoffs on the ranch and on individual property owners. The board asked the committee to determine the actions it should take to mitigate those effects. Secondly, the board wanted to know what actions were the responsibilities of individual property owners. There are two governing documents. The language on all plats stipulates that the association shall maintain surface drainage. The Holly Lake Ranch Association rules and regulations, which all property purchasers acknowledge as binding on title closing, contains this requirement. Therefore, by the rules and regulations, property owners are responsible for maintenance of drainage ways along the front of their property. Specifically, homeowners should keep roadside ditches and swales and driveway culverts clear of leaves, silt, and debris. This was one problem found repeatedly when the committee toured the ranch, and we recommend the board highlight this responsibility, assisting homeowners when advisable. Because the nature and character of land may have changed through development to create increased flow and or concentrated runoff points where they did not occur naturally, homeowners do not have a clear responsibility for maintenance of drainage ways through their property in these circumstances. The problems and challenges we found centered mostly on minor hazards and inconveniences, long-term costs of pavement maintenance, repairs from uncontrolled storm runoff, compliance with responsibilities to maintain drainage ways, and how to determine a desired cost-benefit ratio with respect to additional drainage work. The following recommendations are submitted for consideration. Mitigate the most serious drainage problems, keeping in mind the limited budget of the board. Develop projects to upgrade the system over time. Maintain the drainage system as a multi-year plan. And set policies for future alteration and improvement of drainage patterns that affect property owners. Here is the detail for the first recommendation. The committee concluded there are relatively inexpensive works that could alleviate most of the standing water. Install inlets and a pipe along the eastern side of Private Road 7922 from the low point near the county road to the north side of Valleywood Trail and grade to the creek near Hearthside Path. We are awaiting an engineering design of the pipe to assure this will work. Grade along the southern side of Holly Trail East and drain the runoff to the existing flume. Overlay the road with a crown to keep water from ponding in the center of the pavement. For the second item, direct work to improve culvert flows in terms of capacity and efficiency. For example, where runoff is now crossing over Holly Trail just west of Peaceful Valley Trail because of a culvert that is full of dirt. Excavate and shape the swale collecting runoff on the north side of the street. Clean out the existing corrugated metal culvert crossing under the street. Clean and shape the swale downstream from the culvert. These three actions will allow stormwater to pass under the street instead of over it. Here's another. Regrade the swale along Lakewood Circle from Pinewood Court to the existing 30-inch plastic pipe under Lakewood. This will bypass the old corrugated pipe under Lakewood, accumulating runoff from the entire area into one pipe. This will alleviate several problems: water crossing the street and eroding the pavement edge, eroding lots 19 and 20, and reducing further erosion in the ditch created recently on lots 17 and 18. For all the benefits to be gained, such as lower road maintenance costs, improve aesthetics, increase pavement longevity, and avoid traffic hazards, the committee recommends the board authorize and direct a comprehensive program of maintenance, repair, and construction to control stormwater runoffs along street easements in the most practical and cost-effective means. With respect to management of drainage work, a separate budget line item should be created and tracked to assure that program objectives are realized, which means maintenance goals are achieved in a reasonable and cost-effective manner. Control of sediment flowing from the golf course and platted easements into ponds and lakes should be reduced, with removal of sediment made a part of a regular maintenance program. Property owners should clean culverts under private driveways and maintain ditches along the street frontages. There is some maintenance and repair work that is not in either of the above categories, not as clear-cut. Crushed culverts under driveways may have to be replaced by the association. The committee respectfully recommends the board adopt policies requiring site plans for new home permits to show proposed drainage patterns, and adopt policies regarding requests from residents to guide staff on responses. The committee members would be pleased to discuss specific comments and recommendations on any aspect of this issue, including stormwater management and control measures, sizing culverts and ditches, and stabilization of erosion-prone areas.